Welcome back to On to Plinth, the podcast where we talk all things and people that come through the doors here at LDN, from elite athletes to freak injuries, from the journeys, the setbacks, the comebacks, all the characters that walk through the doors in the clinics. Today's episode is a big one. We're talking injury, we're talking high performance sport, mental health, what it really takes to return to competition after an injury. I'm joined by Benedict Millson, better known as MrBigFriday, as we know, or we'll get to know later on. Three-time national weightlifting champion in 3 different weight classes, strength and conditioning coach, and someone with one of the most inspiring stories in British weightlifting. We'll learn about how Benedict was born with Erb's palsy, told he might never lift his arm overhead, but now was cleaning jerks over 190 kilos.
Mm-hmm. 190.
190 kilos, sorry.
Can't say over yet.
Can't say over yet. He's also a former triple jumper, a psychology postgrad, and an open advocate around living with autism, OCD, and past psychosis. Also here is Alex, our very own weightlifting specialist physio. He'll bring insight into the physical domains of the sport and the mechanics behind lifting injuries. And Alex has also been coached by Benedict, which I think adds a nice little layer to this conversation. Today we'll dig into Benedict's recent injury and rehab journey, the mental side of stepping away from competition, the mental strength it takes to step back up again, and we'll chat also about coaching, mindset, and what it takes to lift heavy in the gym and in life. Let's get into Benedict. I think you've got a pretty cool story of how you went into the sport or into sport in general.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to where it all started?
Well, sporting journey started when I was a youngin', probably 12 years old. I started playing rugby, football, cricket. Quickly kind of found out that I was a lot faster, a lot stronger than everyone else. And that led me to what my first kind of love for sport was, which was athletics. So I used to run the 100 meters sprint and I used to do triple jump. Triple jump was probably my main sport, but I was actually just better at the sprints. I was better at the 100 meters. So I did that to a reasonable level for 6 years before I went to university. So all throughout high school and middle school, I did athletics. I competed at the English champs, it's called English schools. It's like the national schoolboy championships. So I was a decent level sprinter, but never really reached the kind of, I'd go to the national championships, but I'd never medal, I'd never place, I'd never get to the final. So I was good. But then started at university and they basically didn't have an athletics team. They had like a cross-country team, but their athletics team was just long distance running. I'm a big advocate for me not doing that because I am terrible. So I joined the weightlifting team, which I thought was the next best thing. So I wanted to do weightlifting anyway, Olympic weightlifting, because it's very good for training your power, your strength, your kind of explosiveness. And the initial goal was to do that to become a better sprinter. And when I started, I kind of just took me about a week to fall in love with the sport. And then since then, I'd done this sport, athletics, for 6 years or so, and I just dropped it in an instant because I found this new sport that I loved. Yeah, so started weightlifting, and then that was 9 years ago, 9.5 years ago.
What age was that?
So I started when I was 19.
19?
Yeah, 19. Just started university. So I was doing an undergrad in strength and conditioning, so the weightlifting was a big part of that anyway. So from 2015 or late 2015, I started weightlifting, and my life's been weightlifting ever since.
Was it as a child that you were saying you potentially were not been able to kind of partake in sports or in lifting things overhead and things like that? Was that a conversation you had
when I started weightlifting?
No, even before.
Even before. So basically, I was born with something called Erb's palsy, which is a birth injury where the birth is difficult for various reasons. And during birth, I sustained this major nerve injury in my brachial plexus, where it was completely severed. So my mum got the diagnosis when I was 2 weeks old. I got Erb's palsy, and essentially, what it means is that when you grow up and everything's a bit imbalanced, everything's a bit off, you have a major catastrophic injury to my left arm, so my left shoulder, my arm, my hands, my lats, and my kind of jaw was affected. So I couldn't breastfeed, I couldn't speak apparently for quite a while or cry. really lucky that I got it seen to really quickly. So from about 2 weeks old, my mum, obviously I don't remember this, but my mum was saying that I was doing physio stuff with her from 2 weeks old. Yeah. Things like grabbing a finger, and then when I got a bit older, she'd give me like utensils, knives and forks with bigger handles. Yeah. And so I was very right hand dominant because obviously this left hand was useless. And over time, it got better and better and better. And because of the intensive kind of physio work that my mum kind of did on me, by the time I was maybe 10 or 11, it wasn't noticeable, I would say. I could notice it when I look in the mirror. I could see one shoulder was a bit, one shoulder was definitely smaller, but it was at a different level. If you were someone who didn't really know me and didn't know about it, you just think he's a skinny kid, right? So when I started playing cricket, for example, I would always do everything with my right hand anyway. Over my childhood, I basically became right-handed because of having to do everything right-handed. The only time it really affected me was when I started weightlifting. So when I did athletics, I just, you don't have to put your arm overhead. Of course, yeah. So it wasn't really an issue, honestly. And when I look back at videos, I can see when I'm sprinting, my right arm have a full kind of cycle and my left arm would always kind of just come across. But I was naturally fast and powerful with my legs that it didn't really make a difference. Maybe if I didn't have this, I would have got a higher level. But it was only when I started weightlifting when I was 19. And I didn't really do any weight training until I was 19. We'd train in the gym for athletics, but it would always be bodyweight stuff. Lunges, bodyweight squats and stuff like this. It was very kind of old school athletic style. And anything we did upper body wasn't overhead, so it wasn't a major issue. But I would always find that my left arm would tire on things quicker. Yeah. When I started weightlifting, having to put a bar overhead, it was like going from 0 to 100 right straight away. I remember doing the first session of weightlifting at university, and it was like putting the bar overhead in the wide grip, in the snatch grip, and the day after just having the craziest DOMs the craziest soreness in my left trap and shoulder. And it took a lot of time I've dislocated my shoulder a few times doing weightlifting, or subluxed it as well, and just it just kind of pops up. And that was usually more in the early days when I was strong in my legs, but my upper body probably wasn't conditioned enough to take it. And it's only been in the last couple of years where those injuries have really stopped, where the mobility has increased. One of the reasons I got into weightlifting, there was the reason of I wanted to do it for sprinting. I wanted to do it better. I wanted to do it because it was a part of my degree. The big third one was I wanted to do it because realistically, it's probably the hardest sport to do with the injury I had. So I thought, why not?
Fair.
Why not just jump into the hardest thing? Yeah.
It's like, as a reference, it's like you were doing research into other athletes with Erb's palsy as well, and wasn't it just is there a linebacker or something for the New Orleans Saints or something?
I did a bit of research, and there's a guy called Joe Hughes, who's a British boxer who won I want to say European champs middleweight, but he's also left arm Erb's palsy, and he basically only throws right hand. Okay. Which is crazy to me. Like, I think he can like jab with his left, but most of his power shots with the right.
Wow.
And he's a massive inspiration. But a lot of people who I've researched, there's not many people with Erb's palsy who've made it to elite sport. And if they have, it's kind of people like that who've had to make big limitations on their movement, and they've kind of adapted their sport for it. Yeah. There was this NFL linebacker, Adrian Claiborne. I forgot who he played for, but he was good. And I actually messaged him on Instagram. And he got back to me, and I just asked for advice, and he just gave me, he was a very nice guy actually. Probably got millions of followers, and he got back to me. And he was a beast. Like he was a linebacker, so he was massive, obviously. But everyone else I found had real trouble. I guess I was lucky with it got noticed early. I think a lot of the time when I've looked into the Erb's palsy research is that a lot of these babies, they just, the parents just think there's something else wrong with them because they're not breastfeeding or something. And
delayed diagnosis.
So and I actually PT'd a guy who had it, and his was really bad. He couldn't lift his arm overhead at all. So we're talking one arm that's kind of normal functioning and one arm that's usually like limp because of the nerve damage. The wrist will be in flexion, the elbow will be in flexion. You'll be kind of really internally rotated. Yeah. I would say I still have these symptoms in terms of the movement patterns, but I now have kind of pretty much full function and strength, and it's taken a long time to get there. And if it wasn't for my mum, I wouldn't be here right now. So yeah.
I was like, I don't know what you see about like people with nerve damage as well. But it's like naturally you get into like a fetal position.
Yeah,
Right.
And this is like our common, like we're normally born like this anyway. So not many people really like extension positions or external rotation positions. And it's the same with like, even like rotator cuff related shoulder pain. It's like external rotation. People don't like it. Getting into that maximal rotation position, just people really don't like it.
Yeah, it's like characteristic, isn't it? To like certain sort of features, and I think wrist flexion has definitely been one of them.
Yeah, the same thing as like loads of people get a tennis elbow, whereas a golfer's elbow isn't as common, and that's just an extensor pattern for wrist pain, basically.
Oh.
You just get those kind of differences in there as well. But we're just
No,
going off on tangents, right?
So, MrBigFriday.
Yep.
You know, let's address that right now.
Okay, yeah. So I'm called MrBigFriday on Instagram, and I'm called. It's kind of become like a personality thing, I guess. It's become like a trait, I guess. It started with one of my old lifters at university. We would train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and our Friday session would be our heaviest session. So Monday we'd do technique work, Wednesday we'd do kind of volume work, and then the Saturday we'd do light speed work. But on the Friday we'd go hard, and we would go heavy, and we would try and get PBs and personal bests on and all the lifts, and squats and deadlifts and snatch and clean and jerk. And there was a period of about 5 or 6 months where I was just terrible as lifting. I was missing kind of 50% lifts, and I was missing like easy lifts that I should be making. But every single Friday I'd rock up to the gym like pumped, full of caffeine, and I'd just go crazy. I'd make crazy PBs, but then the rest of the week just be terrible. And someone there said, and it was a girl who English wasn't her first language. I think that's kind of helped. But she said, "Oh, it's like you're MrBigFriday, you know." So I started, and that's all it is. So, and then it kind of stuck early, and it's become it's been too long now. I don't feel like I can change it really.
You just kept the name.
It's become my brand name, MBF. So we changed MBF recently. Like it does mean MrBigFriday, but now that I've started coaching weightlifting a lot more, and there's this community of lifters around us, MBF, we kind of changed the meaning because I didn't want it to just be about me, really. We changed it to Mindset Builds Fortitude.
Right.
Which is something I live by, really. Yeah, one of our lifters, Harry, was saying, "Oh, you know, what could this stand for?" And he came up with fortitude being the F, and then we kind of gradually got the. I had to look up what fortitude means. I was like,
Can you define it, right?
Yeah. I was like, this is something I really believe in, that your mindset and your kind of mental strength, I guess, is, you know, can make you, it's basically your superpower. So it builds your level of grit and fortitude, and without that, most people, you know, I would have just quit.
But even then, it's like with the Big Friday stuff, you've kind of built that into your coaching and like environments as well. Yeah. And you kind of, that Big Friday where everyone would kind of come together. We were saying about it earlier that all of us, we would normally, like 4 or 5 of us would come every Friday to bounce or wherever, and we just lift heavy and just like mess around for a little bit. And that's kind of like, you might have like Big Friday as your main thing, but it's kind of that teamwork environment culture that we're then kind of building up, that then over a period of time, that consistency is key as well. Yeah. I mean, we've had chats about this before, that like if you keep people in sport for 5 years, you can see where their potential is going to be. But if you only keep them in there for a year, 6 months, they might make really, really quick progress, but can we keep them in there for 5 to 10 years where they could actually reach their potential over a long period of time? And ultimately that means making it enjoyable, making it fun, as well as then most people want to be able to lift heavy, right? Yeah. So that's where it's like that Big Friday kind of comes about as well. That it's not just about, we want to kind of build that mindset up, but it's also like culture, environment, fun.
I like that. It's like pillars that you can apply to rehab as well.
Definitely, definitely.
Outside of the gym, into the clinic as well, and things, especially over like long rehab periods where people can kind of be on zoom in on their own progressions things.
Because like making things fun with rehab, like if it's not fun, what's the point?
What's the point?
People aren't just going to do it.
And is it like interesting to you as a patient?
And that's probably when we see lots of like ACL ruptures and those kind of things, especially with hamstring grafts, that loads of people come in. I think I had a patient yesterday, the same thing, that just couldn't bend their knee fully. Yeah. They don't necessarily need to, but they're lacking that range of motion. They had the rupture like 5 to 10 years ago, so it's not going to make much of a difference now, but if they had that ideal rehab where it was a bit more fun, potentially like not serious, and they had it consistently, it would then be able to manage that a bit better as well.
Because it's quite a cool dynamic, because you got then coached by Benedict when you started weightlifting,
more or less. I was like 18 months.
Or just after.
That kind of thing. Yeah. So I had no idea what I was doing at that point, really. And then this was in between me.
Neither did I, really, when I started coaching you. That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. But even then, it's like everything I'd finished forward. But it is strange how it's like you change the technique slightly, and I haven't made a massive amount of progress, especially with a snatch. Like, it is much more about finishing vertical, whereas before I was like, I'm just going to throw my hips into it. I'm just going to finish it forward and then just hope I catch it kind of thing. Whereas much more technically clean. But like, it's the same thing, right? It's always about consistency, making it fun.
When did you start coaching?
2018.
And then you started
late 2018. I think Alex was my first weightlifting client.
Yeah.
You know, I was PTing and doing normal.
You might have just done the course.
No, I did the course ages before.
Oh, was it?
In 2015 when I started uni, just randomly. But I didn't actually start using it until 2018.
Yeah, fair.
But I'd been in the sport since 2015. Just training myself.
Because I've maybe known you for like 4 months.
Yeah, probably.
So I went to the same gym.
Yeah.
And so then, and I was at Swansea Uni, and I'd come back for Easter when you were there, and then in the summer, it was then when I was back and I'd finished my degree, and then I got coached by Benedict, and then started competing after that point as well. And then I've done, how many comps? 10, 12, 15, something like that. Too many. But I haven't competed for like 2 years, which is the thing that then need to get back into it, basically. Just work gets in the way, right? You lot make me work too hard.
You're just too good at your job, mate. That's the problem we've got. But you've got a competition coming up in June. So the first one in a while.
And it's the same one against Benedict.
We're doing the same competition, aren't we?
That would just be a bit strange.
Return from injury, return from overwork.
Let's
get up there. Well, let's talk about that injury a bit more then. I think it happened in December.
December
2024.
Honestly, the 8th. It's the English Championships, or the National Championships. My last clean and jerk attempt, so I'd already won the competition on my second clean and jerk. So I went for a PB. On my last one, I went for a big lift, 191 kilos, and I cleaned it to my shoulders. And then when I went for the jerk, I caught the bar overhead in the split position, and my left hip flexor, so muscle at the front of the hip, and my adductor, so the kind of groin muscles, ripped off the bone as soon as I caught the bar. So I heard it crack and fell to the ground. It sounds bad. It wasn't that painful, if I'm being honest. Obviously, the adrenaline was going crazy, but it felt like, you know, when you crack your back, it's quite nice. Like, it suddenly kind of felt like, oh, my hips got a bit more range. You know? I felt like, oh, my hips got a bit more range. Turned out the muscles were 10 centimeters off the bone. So I was like, yeah, well, that's probably why.
2 muscles, right?
3. Rectus femoris. Gracilis. And adductor longus. But apparently they're attached to the same tendon. So it was 2 tendons, 3 muscles.
Share common tendon. Wow.
10 centimeters off the bone. So it's weird because the hip flexor attaches up here and I could feel it here. I could press on my thigh and I could feel it, which was crazy. I had got home, basically I laid on the floor, the medics came over. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I think my leg's cramping up. Because I was laid on the floor and my adductor was spasming together and I couldn't get my legs apart. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm fine, mate. My dad was there watching. I was like, oh, he was obviously stressed, and my girlfriend was crying her eyes out. And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I think I've just got cramp. Like, I'll be all right. Walked. And then I go backstage. Drug tester comes out and says, yeah, we're gonna test you, which is fair. I mean, they sometimes test the winner. They sometimes test randomly. It's a drug tested sport. So I walked off with him 5 minutes down the road to, peed in a cup in front of a man. And then obviously I passed the test, obviously. Then I walked back and it still wasn't that bad. Genuinely, I was walking with a bit of a limp and it felt uncomfortable, but I could still walk, which was really weird. By the time we got back to the Airbnb, we were in Birmingham. I took off my underwear to go in the shower and my girlfriend's called Claire and I was like, I just remember she was in the other room. I was like, Claire, I don't think it's cramp. I looked down at my leg and it was out here, man. It was swelled up to here. It was pretty purple. at the point, obviously, which is where the blood is just rushing out and kind of swelling and bruising.
I think we can.
I showed you the pictures.
We'll put that picture. That was quite crazy.
There's a few pictures. Had to be careful how to take it because there's stuff in the way. I thought I'd go to A&E, but then we thought, look, it's Sunday night. We're in Birmingham. Train is back tomorrow morning. Monday morning to go back to London. So I ended up just sucking it up. We just went to the station and got the train back to London. A couple of hours and got through the tubes, got back.
But at the time, did you know you kind of like clocked out it was a sort of like tendon injury or muscle injury?
No. Oh, I thought it would be an adductor tear, right? Yeah. I had no idea about the hip flexor at all because the swelling was here, it was big. So when they did the surgery, 0.5 liter of blood was in my adductor, hematoma, right? Yeah. So they drained that. I thought it was an adductor tear. I've never had a torn muscle. I had no idea. One of my training partners, one of my other lifters, Omar Keshta?
Maybe.
Big guy, strong guy.
Yeah.
He tore his adductor a few times, so I messaged him immediately after. I was like, "Oh, Omar, please, like, what was it like when you tore it?" And he told me, similar things like swelling, the blood, weakness, tightness. So I just assumed it was that. I had no idea it was off the bone. And so I ended up going home, went straight to A&E, showed the guy, and I was disappointed. Yeah. He had one look at it and he said, partial adductor tear, you'll be fine in 6 weeks.
Okay.
So
was that NHS? Was that in A&E?
In A&E, yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I say he had one look at it, tear, bam, that was it. No scans. No scan, no nothing.
Okay.
So I then applied for an MRI scan through them and they got rejected.
Okay.
They said, not worth it, just an adductor tear, you'll be fine. 6 weeks. And in the letter it says mild adductor tear. And then my sports therapist, a lady called Josie, who's helping me with the rehab, she basically forced me to come see her and get an ultrasound. Mm-hmm. And this was like 2 weeks after the injury. So I was walking around on crutches that A&E gave me. At that point, I just got off the crutches because I could actually walk reasonably well. And she was doing this ultrasound test on me. And she was like, I don't think it's an adductor tear, mate. I think you need to go get an MRI. So I got a private MRI. I had to pay for it myself. Yeah. And then ended up going home on late December to see my mum. And I was sat with her on the 23rd of December. Just got back home. Haven't seen her in ages. We were having dinner and Josie calls me and says, the private MRI people have just got back to me. Really bad news. It's a hip flexor, which took me by surprise, and adductor torn off the bone.
Yeah. So you expect the hip flexor from, that was your back leg, right?
My back leg. So imagine a lunge position. It popped and kind of maybe off to the side a little bit as well.
Yeah. You're going to get kind of like diagonal forces with it as well. It's it's not necessarily just straight back and forth, but you're just going to get into like that big stretch with a big jerk, basically. Yeah. It's like, we were saying this as well, it's just a massive injury that's almost like very uncommon.
Very uncommon in this sport. I spoke to the surgeon after and I was like, look, is there anything I could have done? He was like, no. He saw the video, showed him the video. He really wanted to see the video, which was and he was like, mate, no. I was in the best shape of my life. I was no niggles leading up to it. People keep asking me like, oh, was your left ankle hurting at the time? No, I was fine, mate. I was absolutely fine. I was in great shape. PB attempts. I PB'd a lot in the weeks.
Like you did 156?
I snatched 155 that day.
But you snatched 156
about a month before.
And then you clean jerked 190 before.
Clean jerked 190 about 3 weeks before, I think. Yeah. And then this 191, he was just like, it was just a freak accident. Unfortunately, it happens with those kind of weights.
Not a whole lot.
There's not much you can do about it, which actually made me feel better. I'd rather it be that than just... I know that I did nothing wrong in the lead up. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in the jerk attempt, I did something wrong.
What type of injuries do you see mostly in weightlifting?
Much more like rotator cuff, shoulder pain, rather than anything else. Yeah, shoulder and back pains generally. Heavy squats usually. Get some knee pains as well. Most weightlifters have a good knee and a bad knee generally. But it's normally it's like mix and match. Is your right leg forward leg for jerks? So it's normally like my leg's my front leg as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like normally dominant leg is forward. Yeah. But that's very independent. It's not necessarily consistent. Yeah. So it really varies. It depends what you're comfortable with and how you practice. If I started doing it with my left leg, I'd be all over the place. Yeah. But it just really varies depending. Okay. Sometimes
so not too many sort of groin injuries, not too many hip flexors injuries.
Not really. Not unless you're not used to sitting into the bottom of a squat which obviously if you could do snatches and clean jerks at 155, it's absolutely fine.
Cool.
Did you feel any pain at all? Very much pain at all in the joint? Because I'm just thinking
not in the joint, no.
Because I'm just thinking like, were nerve endings then ripped off? Because we see this quite a lot where people expect that like big injuries, this is a big injury obviously, that aren't actually that painful. So like Achilles tendon ruptures, and like if you rupture something completely, you normally rip off all the nerve endings. Whereas with smaller injuries, they're normally more painful, which is more annoying and frustrating. But that's like something else.
I would say like
as well.
Getting a paper cut on the finger was more painful than this. 100%.
And that's where like all the nerve endings are right there.
So this was like it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Weird sensations, very tight. When it first swelled up, not to make a joke, but it would swell into my genitals, and that was very uncomfortable. And I was very uncomfortable. I couldn't lay down, and at the time I felt like I was cramping a lot as well. That kind of cramping eased a few days in, and then honestly, it wasn't that. It was more uncomfortable, I would say. And then even post surgery, no pain.
Yeah, surgery wise, what was the plan?
So surgery wise, she told me on the 23rd, it's 10 centimeters off the bone. So both of them 10 centimeters off the bone. It needs surgery. It's not just going to magically reattach, which was obviously upsetting. I kind of given up down the NHS route by that point, if I'm honest. I did get in touch with, respect to them. It was the 24th of December, so Christmas Eve. I did ring NHS surgeon, and they got back to me, and they said, we can book you in for an appointment, not a surgery, an appointment late January. And I was looking at the research at the time, and it was like, look, you want to try and get it done in 4 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks, you want to get the surgery done. The longer you wait, the less chance, or the slower it will be to get back to 100%. So I emailed 3 different surgeons, late on the 23rd of December in the night. One guy still hasn't got back to me. One guy, so I'm not really waiting that call in. One guy, and the 2 other guys did get back to me the next day, to be fair.
Yeah.
One of them said, yeah, no worries, I'll book you in for an appointment again to see me late January. All right, fine, that's for my second case. The other guy, to be fair play to him, Faris, her dad, said, mate, this sounds awful. Let's have a Zoom call tonight. Christmas Eve night.
Wow.
Christmas Eve night, I was sat in a hotel in Whitby, where I'm from in North Yorkshire. Big up Whitby. And
even Nick's been there once.
And Faris, yeah, lovely place, lovely part of the world. And Faris, her dad he showed me the MRI pictures, and he was talked me through it and talked me through what it was. He thought it was actually a bone avulsion. Initially, he thought the bit of the bone came off as well. But he was like, look, regardless, we need to get you in for surgery as soon as possible. He booked me in for surgery 4th of January. So I ended up being there. I ended up having the surgery about 4 weeks after, magically. And it would have been less if I didn't get wrongly diagnosed. It would have been 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, of course.
Now, I don't blame the one person who saw it, because I know what it's like in the A&E, man. It's like super hectic. They're massively underpaid and understaffed, and it's a crazy job. But this surgeon, he did a really good job on me, and I had to raise the surgery costs about 10k. Let's say just it was around £10,000, and this I started to GoFundMe on the 26th. Yeah. I didn't want to do it on Christmas Day because I thought, come on, that's not the right way. So I waited till like 10 a.m. Boxing Day, put up a GoFundMe, and I put 11,000 as the goal, and I said to everyone basically, look, I don't want any more. If we get to anywhere close to 11k, I'd be unbelievably happy. Within a day, we got about £4,000. 4,000. We got to about 25% of it. And then it then obviously did slow down, but I kept getting emails about so-and-so has donated. It was the most heartwarming, probably one of the most emotional times of my life, because I was a bit lost, and I thought, this is my career over. And I had, random people who I'd not spoken to, or some people I didn't even know, donating, and people would share it on Instagram, people would share it around, and my mum would give it to her workmates. And I'd have people that obviously I knew really well. I had people that I hardly spoke to, who I didn't know I'd made an impact on, and they sent me. Some people were sending big money as well. Some people were sending £500. My coaches gave money. I had people I'd never even heard of. And it got to about 8,000 about 5 days before the surgery. So I was fine to pay for the surgery.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It actually reached 11K the night before the surgery. So I was sat in a hotel in Marylebone because I had to be, the surgery was in Marylebone. I had to be there really early, so I thought I'd get a hotel. And I was sat there the night before. I think I was watching The Simpsons on the TV. Final email. So I won't say her name. She's a lifter from MEMS. Did the final amount, and it was like she knew how much was left, and she just gave the exact amount. It was like it was a big name. It was like £273 she gave just to get it to 11K.
Wow.
And then even after the surgery, a few people have donated since, but I've stopped sharing it now.
Of course.
I feel bad taking extra money, but maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should keep getting money. But yeah, so that was. So then we had the surgery on the 4th of December, Saturday.
4th of December?
January, sorry,
Yeah,
4th of January. And I was back at work on Monday.
Reattachment surgery?
So yeah, so it was tenodesis. Tenodesis. So basically, only in the surgery did the surgeon find out the bone was actually still intact. It was just a clean ripped tendon. So basically what they do is they stitch up the tendon at the end. They drill into the bone, put the tendon in, and then anchor it in with helix anchors. And then you just wait for it to heal, basically. Yeah. So I walked out the surgery on crutches on the 4th of January. I was back at work on the Monday.
What was the immediate sort of like post-up sort of like?
Immediate was fine. First couple of days, well, actually, the Sunday, great time. High on drugs. I mean, I was high on all the painkillers. I mean, they gave me fentanyl to put me under. Yeah. So when I first woke up, I was high as a kite and happy days really.
I just remember seeing Claire's picture.
Yeah, I was out of it, and they gave me
bread and stuff.
They gave me a bit,
with like bread, and she brought you food.
She brought me Greg's and that, and I'm still waiting for my Greg's sponsorship.
That's his classic thing.
Yeah.
It's just Greg's. You got Greg's t-shirts.
First time I got Greg's socks as well.
But all the stuff.
They gave me a big platter of food. It was lovely, and I, got home that night, felt fine. Woke up the next day again, felt fine. I didn't really feel anything until the Monday. Mm-hmm. I was at work on the Monday night, coaching. And I love my job so much. I just love coaching people, especially at Bounce. They bought me a chair to sit on the whole time, obviously. Usually I'd be up and about coaching people. That Monday was probably the only time when I was like, I hated coaching. People would ask me like, oh yeah, how you doing? I'd be like, obviously bad. It was 2 days ago I had major hip surgery. I'm obviously not doing great. Which is... It's not their fault. They're just trying to be nice. But that's when it hit me that this is real. That's when it really hit me. Because up until then, it was all a new experience, a bit of a game, to be honest. It was kind of fun, if I dare say it. And then that Monday was a bit rough. And then it was rough. I was mentally better and I wasn't treating people like terrible anymore. I was being nice to people. And I was on crutches for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And
so that was like non-weight bearing for 6 weeks?
No. I was toe touch weight bearing for 3 weeks. So I had to walk around with my heel elevated on my left foot. So my left calf was tight as a rock. My left hip flexor was tight as a rock because I was constantly up like this.
Of course, yeah.
And then the 3 weeks after, so 3 to 6 week mark, I was allowed to weight bear as tolerated on crutches. So full gait cycle, but on crutches.
On crutches, yeah.
That's when stuff started easing off. But at that point, I was feeling pretty good and I just wanted to be off the crutches. I felt like I could walk around fine. I was tentative, but I could walk around fine. I live in a studio flat and a few times I'd like go from my bed to my sink and be like, oh shit, I got there without the crutches. I need to hold on to stuff to get back. But at that point, like kind of like 5 to 6 weeks post-surgery, I was really wanting to get off the crutches. As soon as I got off the crutches, then it was... like happy days from there, really, yeah.
I think we were having a chat with this on one of the Saturdays, so that like you could have been off the crutches a lot sooner.
Theoretically,
but,
yes.
But it's like it just slows you down. So like it just stops you from like going up steps quickly. And basically at New Malden train station, there's loads of steps to get up to your train. So if you're really, really late, you're like, oh, I have to rush, and then you can kind of jump some steps and just like, run up really, really quickly. But if you have crutches, you physically can't do that.
Even if you feel fine,
so
you
it
don't.
just slows you down a lot, just so you don't take that risk. And that's the thing that we kind of see with quite a lot of patients, that they kind of just want to push through a lot quicker. If you just slow them down and stick to what consultants tell them, it speeds up that process later down the line.
And I often sometimes keep the 2 crutches for as long as possible, even sometimes not moving on to 1 crutch, which sometimes kind of like causes quite a fair bit of imbalance as well. With the 2 crutches, what you describe is being able to kind of like, really kind of feel for the 2 legs and trying to reach for symmetry, as opposed to 1 crutch. Or often if injury is a bit too early, you just start to kind of lose that a little bit and start compensating a fair bit.
Yeah. I would say, I was don't get me wrong, I was miserable at that time, but I followed what he said to the T.
Yeah.
And it would be like, okay, you've got to wait at least 6 weeks for the crutch to be off, and then so on the 6-week mark, bam, crutch is gone. See you
This
later.
is where it's kind of comes down to like personality traits as well, that you said earlier about OCD, autism, not necessarily psychosis, like something slightly different. But with those 2 personality traits, you're going to stick to exactly what is on the book, and it's similar to like your psychology dissertation about perfectionism. That's like very much like sticking to routines, consistency, but it's very good for like rehab as well, that you're going to stick to what everyone tells you, you're going to stick to that. And then it's like you then get benefits later down the line, 3 months, 6 months down the line, you then see that benefit as well. And it's kind of you reap with the rewards.
Yes, yeah.
6 months from now.
Mental health wise, post injury, how have you kind of recovered? How have you kind of worked with it?
So immediately after was terrible. My self-esteem and like my image of my image of my body was terrible as well when I was losing weight. So yeah, for the first 6 weeks it was terrible when I was on crutches, and then it slowly started to come back. I would say it's back now, but one of the biggest things, I just felt hopeless. I felt like all these other, I compete in a sport where, it's very numbers based. Whoever lifts the most wins. And, I'm just worried that people are going to overtake me. Yeah. And it's been 9 years I've been lifting, and I feel like I finally reached the top of the country in the terms of, I just got the total for the Commonwealth Games squad. So to be selected for the squad and then to have it literally ripped away from you. And I now think, and people keep telling me like, oh, no, you shouldn't worry about these other people. I was like, well, I'm lucky because I do. This is the way it is. And I do worry about other people overtaking me, and there's nothing I can do about it. If someone was to beat me in a sport where I was fully capable and they just beat me, I'd be like, okay, that's fine, it's part of sport. But to watch people just lift more and progress and get better than you is hard. It's the hardest part, I would say. So I've had to do a lot of like inner work and work on myself on trying to separate that and trying to be a bit more, process oriented, not just worrying about the goal and worrying about like what I can do for me right now that's helping. And over time, I feel like it's only been 12 weeks, but I feel like in the last 6 weeks, I've already got a lot better at that mentally, and I'm a bit more, I'm happy when I see other people lift well now. So I can separate it.
And I think when you're able to do a lot more, it then allows you to kind of be like, oh, I can do all of this stuff. And it's the thing that when we're in sports where you're like comparing against each other, it's maybe slightly different with like tennis and like racket sports, but with like weightlifting, where it's specifically a numbers sport, you're constantly trying to compare yourself against everyone else. But you have to kind of focus on yourself, and it's like me against me. And I don't know, do you do more process related goals rather than performance stuff, or do you do a mixture of the two?
It's hard not to kind of be performance based, right? And you're right, you kind of have to kind of learn to kind of shape your progression a bit according to kind of processes a bit, and it's like, okay, achieving this and achieving that. But what I think was quite interesting is you said how it affected your coaching as well. I recently injured my knee skiing, and then suddenly my physio was affected. I couldn't be in a gym with my patient as much as I wanted. I couldn't demonstrate. I couldn't do even my own training and stuff like that. So like physio-patient relationship changes a little bit, because you suddenly just feel a little bit, God, I'm losing the respect or even that I can get from my patients sort of thing. And you said you sort of affected a bit your coaching relationship as well.
I mean, my self-esteem as a coach went down a lot because I felt like my credence had gone. I felt like my respect had gone because I couldn't demonstrate anything. I couldn't prove to someone that I could do something, you know.
That's it, yeah.
And I think a lot of that was, I don't think any of it was true. I think it was just in my head.
Yeah.
I think no one really thought that. I think if anything, people were like, oh, damn, I think it's pretty cool that you did that and they're coming back. But yeah, at the time it was very much like, you know, whenever I would feel like someone wasn't maybe listening to me as a coach, I would just be like, I wonder if it's because I've got no hip muscle attached to my bone. Yeah, so it became everything. It became a massive part of my life, and it became, I hate to say it, but it became a bit of a personality trait where it's like, anything that happens to me, I've got to think about this before. And it's like, especially when I was on the crutches, it would become a big talking point, so I couldn't really escape it.
Yeah.
Someone comes in, oh, hello, Benedict, how you doing, mate? I'd be like, how are you, lad? And they'd be like, you know, how's the crutch? How's it going on the crutch? I'm like, it's fine. It's the same as it was yesterday.
It was the time I came in that you said, I'm sick of this question.
Yeah.
But for me, it was the first time I'd seen you since then. That you were just like, I'll allow it.
And I had to catch myself a few times from not just telling someone to F off, like, it's fine. But people were unbelievably caring, and they were very interested. So when I look back on it now, I'm a bit like, do you know what? I'm actually really grateful for the people around me, because they were really supportive, and all the lifters that I coached were like, I'd get my chair out and they'd always like move things for me and try and do something. And they'd be really good. I'd tell them like, oh, do this. And they'd be like, oh, do you mean like this? And they would, and they would kind of come to the conclusion themselves, and they just made my job really easy. And everyone was always asking how I was doing, which was really nice, actually. It was just, I felt like I was doing better than I was, but I wasn't. Yeah.
Which is a really nice coaching culture environment.
Yeah, with
weightlifting in that space, at least. I don't know if I go into other bits and pieces alongside that, but it's like the environment with the weightlifters is like incredible. It's just a really nice environment.
They all really care about you as a person, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that I think you said on your story something similar about like focusing on the processes. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But it's like the processes of like, what are you doing during each week that will align to your main performance goal? And that's kind of the way I'd kind of play it as well, that you have a big performance goal. For most of our patients, it's like running a London Marathon or Hackney Half or whatever. But if you have that process goal of, I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times a week alongside some strength and conditioning stuff, accessory stuff, and kind of have that as my priorities, same thing as you prioritize the leg first and you kind of that as a personality, it then benefits you in the long run as well. But culture, fun, environment, still the big 3, where I'm like, if it's fun, if you're in a nice environment, if you're supporting each other, you're going to go a long way.
Did you think that your psychology degree affected the way you rehab yourself?
It probably needs another introduction about my background with psychology stuff. And I would say it started early on with the Erb's palsy stuff, when I'd look at myself in the mirror as a kid and I'd be like, why do I look so different? Why do I look so? And that's when the body image issues started happening. But basically, when I was 12 or 13, I started having issues with mental health, usually depression and psychosis. So I'd hear voices when I was a kid, and I would hear, I'd see things, and I'd have really troubling thoughts. And, you know, it became a big part of my childhood was the treatment for that. And it was a very dark time of my life, obviously. I had a few suicide attempts when I was 16. And it's quite hard to talk about, but it was... I had a long history of self-harm from a young age, where I'd cut myself to feel something. And then when I was hospitalized a few times, I started becoming interested in the actual psychology behind certain mental illnesses and mental health issues. Fast forward a few years, and I've had troubles with psychosis, OCD, depression, and I've been diagnosed with autism. And when I did my undergrad, I finished my undergrad, and I kind of thought, I'm not ready to be an adult yet, so I'll do a master's. And there was one that really interested me. It's called Psychology of Mental Health, or Mental Health Psychology Masters. So I did that. It was an MSc in Mental Health Psychology. So I did that, and I learned a lot about kind of common mental health issues and whatnot. But I was able to do a dissertation on passion and perfectionism in weightlifting. So I titled it that. It's very interesting, and I learned a lot about my lifters and a lot about myself. And I would say that alone, not necessarily the degree, but the dissertation I did, the study around the passion, perfectionism, did help a lot with the injury post, because it explained a lot of the thoughts I was having with perfectionism, and kind of comparing myself to others and thinking, oh, why am I getting injured, and why are these people doing lifts that, you know, objectively look worse than mine in terms of technique, but they're fine. And obviously at the end of the day, it's just people are different, right? And they just, sometimes you just get unlucky. And that did help a lot, because I would refer back to the books. I actually have the dissertation printed out, and I read it a few times, and it makes me think about not only how far I've come since those days, but the negative thoughts you have around injuries, they are quite common and they are quite normal as well. So it helped me become less lonely in that sense, where I didn't feel like I was the only one feeling these things. Yeah.
I think you've talked about a book that Benedict referred back as well.
Book of Grit.
Yes.
One of your favourite books. I think you reference it.
I've read it a few times. Yeah, a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth, and Claire, my partner, got me into it, and it's, you know, it's a really good book. It's kind of a self-help book, but it's not really. It's about this I guess not personality trait, but they call it grit, and it basically just, she evidences in the book that the most successful people just have this. They're not really different from anyone else. They just have this thing called grit, which is, you know, it's just a drive and determination to keep going regardless of what happens, and that kind of what separates the you know, the more successful people to the less successful people. And that helped me as well, because it was just, you know, at some point my hard work and effort will pay off, and it will overcome these barriers and these obstacles that I keep having. And like I know that if I can objectively say, like, I'm not made for weightlifting. I have Erb's palsy. It's the one thing, you know, I'm not meant to be doing this. I know that with that comes the risk, you know, of I've literally been injured since birth. When you think about it, I've literally been injured since birth. Some people are in the Paralympics for Erb's palsy. It's that bad. It's classified as a disability. And my mum was told from a young age, you know, I would never be able to lift my arm over my head. So in response to that, I clean and jerked 190, and I jerked 200 kilos just to be like, look, screw you. But I know that with that comes risk, and this book Grit really helps with that, because it's kind of like I see myself as an individual who just has to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I shouldn't really compare myself to anyone else, because the circumstances are so different. Yeah. I mean, even without Erb's palsy, everyone's so different anyway. But this just adds another layer on top of it.
Definitely.
What's the quote that you say quite a lot? Comparison is the loss of life or fun.
Comparison is a thief of joy, I believe.
Yeah.
Is which I do think is true. I think even when I was lifting and I'd hit a PB or something, I put it on Instagram. I'd be like, oh, yeah, all these people love it, and then I'd see someone else just lift more than me. I'm like, oh, now I kind of feel bad about myself, you know? Yeah. But I shouldn't, because he's just a random guy. I don't even know this person. It's some guy from America, maybe, or, you know. And you should be proud of your own achievements, regardless of where you are. And I think the one thing with weightlifting it's hard to deal with is the numbers-based thing. Is that if you win when I won the British Champs 2022, January, it was, you know, it was, at the time, it was the best moment of my life. But look, I went to work the next day, like nothing changed. You know, I went to work the next morning, had to bring my medal in for some pictures, but other than that, nothing changed.
Yeah.
So these kind of external pursuits, they're great, and you should definitely go for them, and they do give you a sense of self-worth. But even if you fail at getting them, your sense of self-worth shouldn't really be affected by other people's achievements. It's not a zero-sum game. Someone else's achievements doesn't make you a worse person.
It's just like enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process.
So many people are in the same line where it's like, I think, was it Johnny Wilkinson who just can't enjoy winning the 2003 World Cup? It's just like, he sees it and it's like, it gives him 10 minutes of like, oh, I love this thing. Yeah. And so many people that are elite in that same realm are like, oh, it was great for a day. Yeah. And then you have this like, World Cup winner or whatever, British champion, English champion, all the rest of it. But you just want to be able to celebrate as much as you can. But if you enjoy that process along the way, you're going to enjoy that thing a lot more as well. I mean, you're going to have this technically for the rest of your life. Three-time national champion, right?
Well, yeah. It's weird when I was stretching after the surgery. I was like, oh, why is this so tight? I was like, no, well, it literally is short for the rest of my life. Like, my tendon is shorter on one side because a part of it's been cut off. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. That makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
Is this going to affect how, just going back a little bit to the weightlifting technique, is it going to affect how you lift?
The surgeon says no.
Okay.
The surgeon says by 6 months it'll be pretty much fully reset. reattached, I guess. Obviously, then I have to build strength up around it again. But he says by about a year post-surgery, you should be back at full strength, full, previous best numbers. And obviously, because I have a long background in strength training, and this is for normal people, so I should be maybe even sooner than a year. Mm-hmm. I asked him whether I should stop split jerking and whether I should move to power jerk, which is basically you jump with the bar on the shoulders and you don't split the feet, you just sit under it. And he said there's no need for that.
Okay.
So hopefully not, but we'll see.
How's your flexibility? I don't know. You guys like work together at all on some like rehab stuff now?
He's pretty independent.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I've treated enough people at balance.
He's treated me a few times as well.
There's just like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like I don't really need to do too much really. Obviously you're seeing Josie as well.
Yeah. So
it's just a lot closer than coming all the way here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we are very good friends, so it might be.
Yeah. I mean, even if you wanted to ask questions.
Well, I do. That's it. Yeah. The mobility it's been 12 weeks since, and the mobility is fully recovered. The mobility is fully returned, and the strength from side to side, we're doing it with a tester dynamometer, is pretty much back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hip flexion is back to less than 15%. It's about 4% difference side to side. The adductor is the only one that's still a bit weak, but it's 16% difference to that side. Everything else, hip extension.
Kind of expected though, right?
Adduction, well, yeah, knee flexion, knee extension is exactly the same.
Getting there.
Yeah.
Gonna get you on the fourth place next.
Give it a couple more weeks, yeah.
Well, we were on the fourth place earlier, and you were like 10% onto the right leg than the other leg.
Yeah.
But then when you were squatting, it was fine.
Yeah.
So it's like just as soon as you actually think about what you're doing, you shift it over to the left side again.
So you're back in competition, on the same competition as that?
Basically, I wanted to do a comp as soon as possible because and I have no ego about dropping, doing way less in the comp.
Yeah.
I just want to do a comp because they are fun and I do enjoy them. So my normal snatch opener would be like 150 kilos, right? My normal clean and jerk opener is like 175. For this comp, it's probably going to be like 30 and 40. I don't care. I'm fine with that.
Don't put your entry total too high.
Yeah. I put 40, right?
Yeah.
So I've signed up for a comp in June that Alex is also doing. And we'll see. I don't know if I'll be able to lift by then, but hopefully I will be. But, yeah.
I mean, even you're doing like no foot stuff.
I could do 40.
So it's like you could do enough.
20, right?
Yeah, just maybe not with a massive jump, or you do powers
no
or
foot
whatever.
or something,
That kind of thing.
I just want to do that, and then I think every comp I do, I'll be able to do an extra, let's say 10 kilos or say.
Yeah.
And it'll be a nice story then. It'll be a nice it will show the progression quite well.
Of course.
I think also taking the ego away probably helps.
Yeah.
Show other people that actually it doesn't matter how much you lift. Just kind of.
I'd like to think it would be quite a nice lesson when people see me walk out in, and be the first person to lift rather than the last person, let's say. And me be fine with it. And I'm still going to enjoy every moment. I'm still going to probably celebrate when I snatch 40 kilos,
Like so many people that I speak to, probably the same for you as well, that are just like, are you going to compete? And they're like, no, I'm going to compete when I get to this level. In reality,
that level never comes.
Just compete and just kind of see what you're at. Ultimately, it's like, I say this a lot, maybe a bit over optimistic for myself, but I was like, it doesn't matter unless it's in the competition. Technically, it's like I can snatch whatever I want to in a training facility where I'm like, I have so much time to warm up, so much time to hit my numbers, but like ultimately, does it matter? Is it in a competition? Is it with specific times in between?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are certain rules with competition that have to kind of stick to. But as soon as you take that ego away and they're like, I'm just going to lift, I'm just going to have fun. Again, fun, enjoyment.
Yeah, enjoy the process.
And then culture as well, that it's a nice culture environment where you're comfortable, even if you were to bomb out.
Yeah.
Does it matter really?
Not really. You still got to work the next day, don't you?
Yeah, and it's the same thing when British champion.
You win
British champion, or you can bomb out, but you still have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
The next day still happens. Just live in the moment.
Yeah. So what are your post-June goals then after that?
I just want to the big goal for me was just get back full movement so I could coach again. So I'm already at that point. The next goal is to do a comp, regardless of what that is. So that'll be June, hopefully. I mean, it probably definitely will be June 1, unless she says, like, you can't lift. Post-June, it will just be the next comp after that.
Yeah.
Just make sure you don't get press outs for June, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. My ultimate goal, all of the goals I had when I started weightlifting, I've achieved. I wanted to be British champion. I wanted to be the first and only British champion with Erb's palsy. I wanted to be probably the only weightlifter with Erb's palsy. I I wanted to clean jerk 180. I wanted to jerk 182, which is 400 pounds. I did that. I then jerked 200. I wanted to jerk 200. I wanted to snatch 150. I did that. So the next and kind of only thing is I would like to get international singlet. So compete for England or GB. At which comp, I seriously really do not care.
Okay.
As long as it's an international singlet. I want to get an international singlet. I want to frame it. I want to send it to my mum, and be done.
And you also have then coaching goals as well.
Coaching goals are
Like
separate,
a
yeah.
separate thing, but
Performance goals is just get an international singlet, but I just want to do a snatch and clean jerk again.
Yeah. And then from a coaching point of view,
you just wanted someone to out clean and jerk.
The only
Was that the one?
When I first started coaching, I wanted to get my own club, and I did that. And then I wanted to get someone to get a medal at a comp, and I did that. Then I wanted to get someone a national medal, and this went on, and now I've coached people to gold medals in every major comp in Britain. So British champs, English champs, Welsh juniors, British juniors, English juniors, British students, British masters. So I'm really happy with that. The one goal I wanted was to coach someone from complete beginner to better numbers than me.
Right.
So that's the next goal. I'm still
You got the snatch. Well,
no,
temporarily.
no, but it don't matter because I beat him now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a lad who who was he progressed like that, and he did actually beat my snatch. And then my snatch went up. It was weird. It was it was an elation. I bought him Nando's after. so
A lot of our things are like, oh, if you do this, we'll buy you this, or we'll give you money. They got like money bets going on as well. There's other like mental things to kind of push each other.
He's the guy who also won the British champs. So that was an unbelievable feeling. But I want him to. I want someone to beat my whole lifts. Yeah. Because then I think that's the mark of a good coach, is getting someone to better levels than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's what we see in physio daily, right?
Yeah.
It's not because you're not necessarily like the top of that sport, but if you understand it, if you understand the process, if you can coach it, then you'll get your patient much better than potentially what you can do. And I think that philosophy applies on both in the gym and in the clinic, I think. So I think enjoying the process is the philosophy that you're probably gonna.
And I've probably only learned that since doing this.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy training before I did this, but I probably didn't actively think about it that much. I did enjoy it because I wouldn't do it otherwise. But since this, all I've thought about is just I want to get back to training. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a huge part of it.
But I think it also helps when you have a massive base of strength, and it's like you would do so many change in direction stuff, like even like sideline on that 45-degree back extension that you use as an adductor. Lots of different jumps, hops, variations, plyometrics, and it kind of helps with like Chris Speed giving loads of different ideas as well. I kind of use him, and I'm just like, sometimes with plyometric stuff, I'm just like, here's K.Speed.
Just look at his profile.
Just look at his profile. He does loads of weird jumps and change in direction stuff. I'm just like, here's some ideas. Here's where you can start off with. But if you want more plyometric stuff, just go on his Instagram. Just see what you can do. But it's like having that base of strength. And you doing the same, and it just helps the recovery afterwards. It's like, what have you done recently? Like a 141 back squat, 90
Hatfield squat.
A Hatfield squat. So
I front squatted
90.
135
Fair.
with a tempo up as well.
That 135. I thought it was 90. Was that a while ago?
This was on Sunday, just gone.
Oh, okay,
60%, 35. Yeah, so
fair.
Which is quite kind of light for me, right? But when I think about what I've gone through, it's pretty big. Like, it's well over body weight, and
of course,
on a surgically reattached hip. So I guess that's interesting. Yeah. Did you see my single leg squat?
No.
Full depth on the left side.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, mad.
On Wednesday.
What, full pistol?
Off a elevated surface.
Well,
so not.
I see, yeah. So as an on a box.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
Full depth though.
Wow.
Astrograph left side.
Yeah.
Less than 12 weeks.
Well, what were you doing? You were over COVID. You were doing you had weights here, and you were doing single pistols.
Pistols with a 60 kilo, yeah. Weighted vest and a few things on the front, right, like kettlebell, yeah.
And this is what I mean. That how many people would you see that'd be able to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so
it's just ridiculous.
Your prehab was
mediocre.
I've been training for performance for 15 years across 2 different sports, right? So I have a big plyometric base, I have a big strength base, and I think I just, with the influence of Chris Speed, just train quite generically and varied as well as weightlifting. So I would say I'm probably one of the better athletes in weightlifting, as in I can do other stuff as well. My partner taught me a lot of gymnastic stuff and flexibility stuff, so I can do back bends, and I was getting close to splits before,
You did split.
Yeah, I did kind of split, yeah.
Maybe get on the other leg.
Yeah, maybe.
Might not be able to do it on the other leg this time.
Cool. I've got a little quick fire round between you two.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, jeez. Christ. Didn't prepare this bit. How quick is quick fire?
Well, you've got like, let's say 30 seconds if you wanted to give me a story about it. But all right, Alex, favorite lift?
If it's really nice, probably a snatch, but cleans or back squat.
Okay.
Clean. Just the clean, not the jerk.
Yeah.
Every injury
not.
I've ever had is from jerks. So just the clean, yeah.
I think we're both the same, that we just don't like, we can lift heavies a clean. I can catch any clean.
Yeah,
and like if I can stand it up, it's coming up. But otherwise I'm just collapsing. It's just falling on the floor, basically.
Best competition moment?
Probably the most recent one that I've done. Hit PBs. What did I do? 104, 138, I think I did.
Yeah. Colchester.
Yeah, I think so. And it's just like, generally, just as you hit PBs, you just kind of build up. I always think that's the most recent comp. Yeah. Generally.
I would say I clean and jerk 166 to win the British on my last attempt. I needed to get it to win. That's probably up there. I remember when I dropped it, I heard all the Ronin lads in the crowd shouting, Chad, Chad, Chad. That was quite nice, yeah. But what I would say is the English champs in 2022, I lifted with Como and Simon. So two people, I coach Como now. I don't coach Simon, but I coached him at the time. And there were two of my lifters, and we all competed in the same group at national championships. That was big, yeah.
I still find it funny that if Simon's there and he tells me to go up, I'd PB. But if you tell me to go up, I'm like, no,
he's got that aura, hasn't he? He's got that aura.
It's really strange. It's just weird.
Worst strengthening or rehab exercises to hit?
Worst?
Yeah, like the one you hate.
Oh, okay. Okay, you go.
I don't know. I like most.
You like most
things. Maybe like a Bulgarian split squat, something like that. Yeah. But I don't know what. Like,
I just love training. Regardless,
yeah.
Probably abs. Anyway, yeah, probably abs.
Maybe those like side plank rotate. Oh, it's Copenhagen planks.
Ooh.
Those are
I
painful.
like them.
I don't mind them, but when you start adding in weights,
what about your best ones then? The one you like really enjoy doing?
I just quite like hops and like plyometric type stuff, really.
So,
but I do quite like if I can load up some Bulgarian split squats. So like normally with like a safety squat bar, where you can almost like a Hatfield squat, you can hold onto the rack and load it up, just like But I do like a back squat as well. It's kind of an accessory for weightlifting generally. Just give me back squats all day long.
Yeah. If you were to start with one exercise, maybe.
If I was to start with
someone like a completely new beginner's weight.
Zercher squat.
Yeah.
You go straight in with a Zercher.
I just think it, to be honest, I feel like I've got a few people in the past, usually PT clients. It's not necessarily rehab, but they'll squat, with a bar on the back and it will look terrible. They'll do it with even with a goblet and it will look terrible. But as soon as they get it in elbows like that, they're super upright. They can sit their bum back. They can get down. Yeah, it works really well.
We don't see too many Zerchers in the gym.
Yeah, I normally just use a box, and as soon as they think about sitting down and standing up, they're fine.
Fine. Yeah.
So it's kind of maybe I'll try the Zercher.
Honestly, I rate it.
Maybe we'll try it.
The only thing with the Zercher is if they're, if someone's a bit sensitive and things, you might have to put a pad around it. But other than that,
favorite song to listen in the gym?
For me, I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I want it to be almost like quiet. But if you're thinking about hype music, yours is like
I got to.
Yours is like ancient. It's like my hype songs are "Till I Collapse" by Eminem.
That's a good one.
And it's like Beastie Boys' "Sabotage."
Yeah.
And then "Shipping Off to Boston." Is that the one?
Murphy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are my 3 hype songs, mainly for clean and jerk.
Yeah, so for Snatch, mine is probably like My Girl by The Temptations.
Okay.
Motown. And then for Clean and Jerk, it's Clubfoot by Kasabian.
Good.
So it's a bit more aggressive.
Most of your songs, like he doesn't like anything modern.
Yeah.
So it's anything like 30, 40 years.
Clubfoot's pretty modern.
Yeah, it is. For you, it's quite modern, yeah.
But that song's got me through a lot of Clean and Jerk people.
Fair.
Nando's order. What'd you order?
4 chicken thighs, curry salt, spicy rice. and then you have to eat the chips first, and then you mix the rice with the
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. I get that.
Medium as
Medium.
well. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
You're a medium guy.
Yeah.
Mine's the same, except not the rice, but the garlic bread.
Yeah. But the garlic bread's inconsistent.
It is. It's a risk.
It's not always.
It is a
yeah.
risky one.
Whereas for me, I'm like spicy rice, and it's just consistent.
It's always good, isn't it? Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, it's a wrap, I think.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Benedict. Thank you, Alex. I think it was quite powerful as an exercise and as a podcast. I think there's a few things we can take into the clinic. I think a few things we can take into the way we teach patients. We work with patients. The whole kind of like process thinking. I think it's a good thing to take as well. And then good luck to you with competition, returning to competition.
Thank you.
With coaching.
Try not to get beaten too much.
By you.
Yeah, by me. I'll be at 41.
If you want to follow you, MBF.
At MrBigFriday on Instagram is probably the way to go.
Yeah.
MR Big Friday.
And then maybe we'll repost your next kind of like records or potentially you in that GB singlet.
Thank you, mate. Yeah.
Pretty soon. All right. Take care, guys. See you next time.